politicians turning their backs on TikTok?
Some, not all. Remember the TikTok challenge that encouraged users to hold their breath until they passed out?
Sadly.
Well, people actually died doing it, which is a pretty good reason not to hold your breath waiting for Mark McGowan to delete the Chinese-made app off his phone. You see, the hottest trend on the platform right now is governments around the world banning TikTok from official devices.
So hot right now.
The US has done it. The UK has done it, the EU has done it, and even New Zealand has done it. And now the Australian government is considering it too, although to this point they've done a pretty half-assed job, with some governments instituting a total ban while others still allow the app on devices.
Didn't take you for a TikToker.
TikTok's parent company ByteDance has denied it harvests data for the Chinese government.
What data?
Well, the app snoops on your contacts, it records your location and online activity, and can also identify locations and faces in the videos you post.
That's ridiculous. Nobody is watching us right now.
And I'm sure all that juicy data would never fall into the hands of the Communist Party of China, one of the most aggressive and unscrupulous intelligence-gathering regimes on Earth, whose headquarters in Beijing is a literal 24-minute drive from the TikTok office, without traffic.
Always traffic. Always traffic.
Despite all of that, Aussie politicians have been, wait for it, left to their own devices.
Premier's not worried about privacy.
Yeah, well, the only way that makes sense is if he's brown-nosing to Beijing, which might actually be in the job description of being Premier of WA.
Oh, that's harsh.
Well, actually, I reckon something else is at play here. McGowan has nearly 40,000 followers on TikTok, which is a decent number for an Aussie politician.
I encourage all West Australians to take part in the excitement of Fringe World.
But even that number is dwarfed by the hundreds of thousands of views that videos about the Premier got before the 2021 election. Even this video of the guy who opened the door for McGowan's daily COVID presses had nearly 10,000 views. What a time to be alive. Thankfully, the state daddy era is well and truly over, but McGowan knows too well how effective a presence on TikTok can be in reaching voters, and I reckon he also knows that he might need that in the future.
He's not the only polly up against it.
Yeah, well, if superhero movies have taught us anything, it's that every hero needs a supervillain.
I want to be a supervillain.
And the same is true for politicians in election years. The Coalition had Bill Shorten's attack on negative gearing to use in not one, but two federal elections. McGowan had Clive Palmer and Scott Morrison, and pretty much every state premier has had the old "someone is stealing our GST." The latest example is the state election happening in New South Wales on Saturday, and a campaign that has seen the leaders of both major parties have a crack at WA's GST share. New South Wales is even going to pay someone more than $200,000 a year just to figure out how to steal it. Incumbent Premier Dominic Perrottet has form on this issue after famously referring to Mark McGowan as the Gollum of Australian politics.
Not listening. Not listening.
Now, such criticism is patently unfair. One of those two is a slippery character motivated by self-interest, and the other is a resident of Middle-earth. Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers has thus far backed the status quo, but with two separate reviews set to look into how GST revenue is carved up amongst the states due in 2025 and 2026, this fight is just heating up.
Again, not quite a plot deserving of an Oscar.
Well, here's one for you. Gwyneth Paltrow has been cast as the villain in a bizarre courtroom drama in the US. The Oscar winner is being sued by retired optometrist Terry Sanderson after a ski accident at the Deer Valley Ski Resort in Utah in 2016. Paltrow allegedly skied out of control on a beginner's run, knocked him down hard, knocked him out, causing a brain injury and 4 broken ribs and other serious injuries.
Ouch.
Yeah. He also claims Paltrow and her instructor skied away and didn't call for help. Paltrow's attorney says it's utter BS, which could be permissible as evidence in America based on how shithouse the court system is over there.
You're a moron. So's your mother.
Sanderson was chasing $3.1 million in damages, but now he only wants $300,000.
Why the change of heart?
Well, maybe he was worried Paltrow would pay the $3 million in Goop products. She's countersuing the 69-year-old retiree for the princely sum of $1, claiming it was actually Sanderson who crashed into her.
I don't need your money.
We don't know if Paltrow will testify in the trial, but it will largely come down to which side can prove they were the skier in the downhill position.
Who's this?
Why? Well, as any skier knows, it's the uphill skier's responsibility to yield the right of way to the people below.
Yeah, well, it can be a lot of work to look like you're taking the high ground.
Indeed it is. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Moscow this week, and both leaders tried to claim the moral high ground when it came to Ukraine. Xi fancies himself as a peacemaker and released a 12-point plan last month, which was basically just ambiguous guff about national sovereignty and did little more than suggest Ukraine stops fighting. Needless to say, Putin frothed over it, and the two leaders agreed this week that the war would already be over if it was up to them. And it was those dastardly people in Ukraine and the West who wanted it to continue.
I think honesty's always the best policy. You believe that? No, I was lying.
Now, you might be wondering how Putin and Xi could ever hope to sell such an obvious load of shit to the world. But you'd be amazed at the power of social media these days. Sometimes all I think about is you. I'm Ben O'Shea.
That's confidence. That's confidence. That's confidence. Once you know what you're doing, there's nothing stopping you. To take on the market with confidence, watch Trading Up, your daily finance update at thewest.com.au.